Less than 1% of the U.S. population will join the armed services, and of that 1%, there's quite a bunch of us that actually play WoW, and it actually works out for us. My name's Coyote, and today I'm going to explain to you how you can use the U.S. Armed Services to help improve your raid leading.
Stupid Coyote.
First off, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel, and for those of you who haven't, don't worry, the button's really easy to find. It's right down there. But let's get into this. First off, a little bit about my experience with the Armed Services. I am a long-standing member of the Army National Guard. I have been in between 2 different states. I've held multiple MOSs with a couple of deployments. And when I do a lot of these examples, it's mostly going to be from the Army point of view. But the other armed services kind of run off this same doctrine. It's a little bit different depending upon the branch, but for the most part, the concepts are still the same. Let's start with the story of 2 raid teams. Raid Team 1, very slow, methodical. They have plans put into place and they carry out and execute the plans. And Raid Team 2, well, they bring the big deeps. And I'm talking deep so quick I've never seen it before in my life. And it was awesome. And I've gotten to raid with both of these teams. But the issue is when it came to Raid Team 2, things were a little bit discombobulated. There was no structure. There was no form. Yeah, they could do really good numbers, but everybody was all over the place. They didn't have what some people in the Army call command and control. The difference between the 2 raid teams was Raid Team 1 was actually ran just like an Army platoon. An Army platoon is pretty much set up like this. You have your platoon leader who's technically in charge. So this would essentially be your raid leader, a platoon sergeant. He's kind of an advisor to the platoon leader, kind of directing the guys, making sure they're all being taken care of, and implementing the platoon leader's plan. You have squad leaders who are responsible for each individual below them, trying to help out and keep everything maintained. And then you have soldiers. Those are the guys that just follow orders. Now, for a basic guild, that's kind of a lot of channels to go through. And in our guild, we only actually just run 2 of these positions in a sense. We actually modify it to just be this. There's a lot of times when I go into pug groups, I see one person trying to take on everything. And it's not because it's a bunch of randos in one group. No, this is actually usually referring to guild groups. They decide that one person's going to be the raid lead, loot master, shot caller, all of these things. And that's a lot to handle. And that's the issue Raid Team 2 came across. Raid Team 1's raid leader said, hey, this is the plan that I want to do. And I looked at his plan. I said, okay, we can do that. And we worked together. Sometimes he wasn't able to make all the call-outs, so that's where you have somebody that stands up and says, hey, I can do some call-outs for you. And it could be different every time for all intensive purposes, but sometimes it helps to have that familiar voice. My raid members know, hey, look, I know Coyote's voice, and if Coyote says do this, then I should be doing that. And it really works out. The raid leader's already got the plan. Now, does this always mean you can't modify the plan? No. In fact, I've actually modified my raid leader's plan quite a bit. And that's where it comes into that advisory role. And if you checked out my last video about live logging, that's where that comes in. Now, this doesn't just apply to like call outs. And in fact, I'm telling you, I highly recommend having a set person for a loot master, a trusted officer, a trusted raider, somebody you know who's going to be doing the right thing if you run the loot master system. If you don't, well, don't worry about it. That'll make your life a little bit easier. But our Raid Team 2 actually does Loot Master. And something I advised to him was like, hey, put that else on somebody else. Your job is to lead. Send us in. This is what we're going to do. The way Raid Team 1 does it is actually my raid leader. He sets the group together. He comes up with the plan, and then I help execute the plan. I say, hey, don't forget, these are the things we need to do. These are the things we're going to do. This is what we got to do. Hey, we're going to be trying this new strategy this time. And it makes our team run efficiently. And we can actually just implement any player. We've actually had several bugs that have come in, and actually now they're guildies, which is really cool, because they like the way we run. It makes things simple. You don't have to take on near as much as the raid leader. And these are all the things that I've learned in the Army in my time going up. And a lot of my friends here in my guild are prior service, so it really works. We all understand them. Kind of chain of command. We get that, hey, somebody's in charge and we got to listen to them. Now, some guilds don't want to operate like this. They want to be a little free for all and stuff like that. And that's okay. I'm not here to tell you how. I'm just here to give you a suggestion that may actually make your raid team that much better. Because when we actually brought this up to Raid Team 2 after a couple of runs, we were like, hey man, this just doesn't seem to be working. There's no reason guys that are performing as well as you are taking a longer time to kill these bosses than Raid Team 1. Because Raid Team 1, we were doing it in about an hour 15, and the DPS for Raid Team 2 did not make any sense for them to be plus an hour in Nomergon. We worked with them to build a raid leader and assistant raid leader position in their runs, and now, I gotta tell you, sometimes I wish I was on Raid Team 2 because they are just blowing through the content. The numbers are there, the strategies are implemented, and it works together. Now, this isn't to say that this is the only way to do it, or this is the only way to have fun, but I just want to say, isn't killing bosses more fun than wiping on them for an hour? If you're having an issue, maybe sometimes it is strategy implementation. Maybe it's just an issue of, hey, look, we're not getting the right call outs. What's going on? Sometimes you got to take a step back as a leader and go, well, let's see what we can do to improve. This is another one of those lessons the Army has taught me, all right? If I am running up against a wall and I can't get through the wall, I got to figure out why. Is the wall even meant to be gone through? Maybe it's meant to go over or around. And these are the questions you have to ask yourself as a leader. Reflect on what's going on. Why aren't we doing something? Why are we not meeting the commander's intent? In this case, the commander's intent would be my raid leader's intent. What does he want to do? I want to kill bosses and do big numbers because that's a lot of fun for us. Take the time now to maybe think about this. Like I said, this is by no means the only way to do raid leading. But this is one that just seems to work out wherever I go. I've been in mythic guilds and retail. I've been in a bunch of different raid guilds throughout the classic era. And the ones that kind of run like this tend to have more success when it comes to raiding and having a lot of fun. Even some of the less sweat lord of the guilds that are more like, hey, we're just here to kill bosses. All right, we can absolutely kill bosses. But they usually run this kind of style. Then again, military people tend to gravitate towards military people. So kind of helps out. And you don't even have to use a military perspective. It's just something I'm quite familiar with because it's been such a big part of my life. You can actually just use maybe McDonald's or Walmart or maybe however your business runs if it's a successful business. Not saying that the Army's successful in a lot of ways, but it does have this structure that really helps out. If your raid team is failing, step back, ask yourself why. Maybe try implementing this system of like, hey, look, I need somebody that can do task A, B, and C while I'm doing D, E, and F. You don't have to take on so much as a raid leader. In fact, my raid leader does very little at all. He says the plan, he goes out there, and then all our guys, they know, well, we're going to go do that. All in all, it's these just little things of, hey, delegation, maybe not taking so much on as a raid leader, that could help your raid team. It's something I've learned a lot going through the Army, and I hope that it helps you. If you found any use out of this video, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. If you're in a certain branch, tell me what you are, and please, my name's Coyote, and as always, happy adventures. Stupid Coyote.